the Circleville Letters. Circleville, Ohio, was the epitome of a small American town. Nestled in the heart of the Buckeye State, it was the kind of place where everyone knew their neighbors, where news traveled fast and secrets were hard to keep. For decades, Circleville had existed in quiet obscurity, far from the bustling cities and their noise. But in the late 1970s, this peaceful town would become the center of a mystery that would grip the community and baffle law enforcement. It all began with a single envelope postmarked from Columbus and addressed to Mary Gillespie. Mary, a middle-aged school bus driver, was well liked by the children and parents she served every day. She had always been known for her kindness and dedication to her job, but this letter threatened to unravel her life. The handwriting on the envelope was unfamiliar, and its contents were nothing short of shocking. It accused Mary of having an affair with the school superintendent, Massie. The letter was filled with vile language and threats against her family if she didn't stop the alleged affair. Mary's initial reaction was one of disbelief. She couldn't fathom how anyone could spread such malicious lies about her. She showed the letter to her husband, Ron, and together they dismissed it as a cruel prank. But as days turned into weeks, more letters arrived, each one more disturbing than the last. The anonymous writer seemed to have intimate knowledge of Mary's daily routines and her family's activities. They knew what she wore, where she went, and even the make and model of her car. Fear began to creep into Mary's life, and she couldn't escape the feeling that she was constantly being watched. Ron also started receiving his own mail. Mr. Gillespie, your wife is seeing Massie. You should catch them together and kill them both. He doesn't deserve to live. As the letters continued to arrive, Mary and Ron decided it was time to involve the local authorities. Sheriff Dwight Radcliffe took the matter seriously and initiated an investigation. Handwriting experts were brought in to analyze the letters, but the results only deepened the mystery. There was no match to any known suspect, and the writer had been careful not to leave any physical evidence behind. When the phone rang on August 19th, 1977, it was treated as any other call and Ron answered it. Mary never learned the content of the conversation or the identity of the caller, but it was assumed to be the elusive author of the letters, and their return was striking. In a fit of anger, Ron reacted impulsively, grabbed his pistol, and left the house. Near their home, at an intersection, tragedy struck as Ron's vehicle collided with a tree, resulting in his untimely death. If indeed the caller had been the letter writer, it appeared that they had carried out their threat against Ron's life. When the police investigated the crash, they found that Ron's gun had been discharged once. Detectives couldn't discern any reason or justification for Ron firing his weapon, whether intentional or accidental. Despite the peculiar circumstances, authorities officially deemed the crash an accident. However, unsettling details emerged. A post-mortem examination indicated that Ron's blood alcohol level was 1.5 times the legal limit, a puzzling revelation given that those who knew Ron best affirmed that he was a teetotaler. The sheriff was rumored to have initially suggested there was more to the crash than met the eye, but later refuted those claims. Strangely, the phantom letter writer began reaching out to various residents, almost imploring for a more thorough investigation. It was as if the author was dissatisfied with the conclusion that the crash was a mere accident. Even following Ron's tragic death, the Circleville Letters persisted in their relentless arrival. Their focus remained fixed on Mary, now a widow, and Gordon. As the letters continued to pour in, fear and paranoia spread like wildfire. Friends and neighbors turned suspicious eyes toward one another, wondering who could be hiding behind such a cruel facade. Accusations flew, and relationships strained under the weight of mistrust. Mary, who had once been a beloved figure in the community, found herself isolated and ostracized. She vehemently denied the accusations in the letters, but doubt had already seeped into the minds of many. The school superintendent was equally adamant about his innocence. Rumors swirled, and the small-town rumor mill churned out increasingly wild theories. The once cohesive community was now divided, with some believing the letters were the work of a malicious outsider, while others suspected that the letter writer was closer to home. People installed security systems, locked their doors, and kept a vigilant eye out for any suspicious activity. The serene simplicity of Circleville had been shattered, replaced by a climate of fear and mistrust. As the story of the Circleville Letters began to spread beyond the town's borders, it captured the attention of the nation. Media outlets across the country picked up the story, drawing even more attention to the baffling case. True crime enthusiasts and armchair detectives offered their theories and speculations, further fueling the mystery. Theories about the identity of the letter writer abounded. Some believed it was the work of a disgruntled resident seeking revenge, while others suspected an outsider with a vendetta against the town. A common thread in many theories was the notion that the writer had inside knowledge of the victims' lives, which only deepened the sense of paranoia. Several years after receiving the initial letter, Mary encountered a lewd sign about her teenage daughter while driving. Outraged, she attempted to remove the sign, but it was affixed to a box. To her horror, she discovered that the box contained a loaded firearm. Disturbed by this alarming discovery, Mary quickly reported the incident to the police, prompting an immediate investigation. Authorities traced the firearm to Mary's brother-in-law, Paul Freshour. Paul, however, vehemently maintained his innocence and informed the officers that his gun had been stolen a few weeks prior. But in a startling turn of events, Paul's estranged wife, Karen Sue, approached the police and expressed her suspicions that Paul was the individual responsible for the malicious letters that had plagued the town. In 1984, a jury convicted Paul of attempted murder. During the trial, an expert witness testified that he had authored the Circleville Letters. Despite the hopes of Circleville residents that the arrest and conviction of Paul would bring an end to the letters, their expectations were dashed as the disturbing letters continued unabated. Following Paul's conviction, Circleville found itself inundated with hundreds of letters. However, a surprising revelation came to light as the prison warden declared that Fresh Hour could not have been the source of these letters. The imprisoned Fresh Hour lacked access to pens and paper, making it implausible for him to have sent them. In an eerie twist, even Paul himself received an anonymous letter from the Circleville writer while he was incarcerated, adding yet another layer of mystery to the ongoing saga. Fresh Hour, now where are you going to believe you are and getting out of there? I told you 2 years ago when we set him up, they stay set up. Conspiracy theories began to circulate, suggesting that local authorities might be involved in a cover-up. These theories allege that they were protecting the true identity of the letter writer for reasons unknown. While such claims lacked concrete evidence, they added another layer of intrigue to the case. Paul was released from prison after serving a 10-year sentence, and it was around this time that the residents of Circleville ceased receiving anonymous letters. This development left the community divided, with some firmly believing that Paul had indeed been the culprit behind the letters, while others remained convinced that the wrong man had been convicted. In June 2012, Paul passed away after experiencing a heart attack, leaving the mystery of the Circleville letters unresolved and shrouded in uncertainty. Former Federal Bureau of Investigation profiler Mary O'Toole examined the letters that persisted during Paul's imprisonment. O'Toole commented on the situation, stating, "If a crime continues and you have someone in custody for an extended period of time, you have to conclude that somebody else is sending these letters. They're not materializing by magic. Somebody else is the author of these letters." This observation underscored the growing doubt surrounding Fresh Hour's culpability in the Circleville Letters case. As the years passed, the Circleville Letters gradually faded from the forefront of public consciousness, but the legacy of the mysterious tormentor endured. The town of Circleville had been forever scarred by the letters, leaving a lasting impact on the lives of those who had been targeted and the community as a whole. The letters themselves had become relics of a dark period in Circleville's history, carefully preserved as evidence of a crime that had never been solved. Throughout the years, the town's residents continued to grapple with the trauma caused by the Circleville letters. Trust was difficult to rebuild, and the wounds of suspicion and paranoia remained. The once close-knit community had been fractured, and the sense of security that had defined Circleville was forever altered. And with that, we have come to the end of our video. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. This has been saying, see you next time.